More than 4,000 years ago, a king went looking for the one enemy his strength couldn't kill: death. He'd already fought a guardian in a sacred forest, survived the wrath of the gods, and a test he couldn't pass. That's Gilgamesh, the hero at the center of one of the oldest stories we can still follow in anything like its full shape. But it's not really a story about a man trying to become a god. It's about what happens when the strongest person in the world discovers he's mortal, and why that failure became the story's greatest victory. Here's a piece of clay from the Flood tablet, the 11th tablet of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's cracked, incomplete, and not especially impressive at first glance. Yet inside these marks is a story about a king who fought monsters, argued with gods, crossed the edge of the known world, and still couldn't save his best friend. It isn't a prop designed for a film about the ancient world. It's one of the reasons we can still hear that world speaking at all. The Lore Index, Archive File Gilgamesh. Over the next few minutes, we'll follow the king from abusive ruler to grieving wanderer, through the flood, the failed test, and the serpent that steals his last chance. Then we'll ask what he actually brought home. Here's the brief version of a very old and very untidy story. Its surviving form comes from a long Mesopotamian textual tradition: Sumerian poems, Babylonian witnesses, and the later Standard Babylonian version associated with the library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh. So no, there wasn't one ancient author sitting down to write the original Gilgamesh in one uninterrupted afternoon. The archive is closer to a box of broken pieces that several civilizations kept repairing. Which is fitting. Gilgamesh himself begins as something badly in need of repair. Gilgamesh rules Uruk. In the epic's language, he's extraordinary, part mortal, part divine, and gifted with enough strength to make everybody else's day considerably worse. He isn't introduced as a gentle guardian of the weak. He's a king who takes what he wants, pushes his people beyond endurance, and treats power as if it were an argument. His subjects complain to the gods. The gods don't remove Gilgamesh. Instead, they create someone who might be able to stop him. His name is Enkidu. Enkidu begins outside the city, living among animals, covered in hair and entirely uninterested in the administrative burden of being civilized. He isn't a rival king. He's the shape of everything Gilgamesh isn't. Instinct instead of law, wilderness instead of walls. A life that hasn't yet been made useful to a throne. The gods have made a counterweight. Enkidu is drawn into human society through Shamhat, a woman associated with the temple in the surviving tradition. The encounter isn't simply a romantic episode, it's a boundary crossing. Afterwards, the animals no longer accept him as one of their own. He has gained language, food, clothing, and human companionship, but he has also lost the effortless belonging he had before. Civilization in this story isn't a clean upgrade, it's a trade. Enkidu reaches Uruk, and here's what Gilgamesh plans to do next. The king intends to claim a privilege over brides that the story clearly treats as an abuse of power. Enkidu blocks his way. They fight. Not a symbolic disagreement, a proper, street-damaging fight between two men who haven't yet realized that the person standing opposite them is the answer to the problem they've been carrying. Neither wins. And because mythology occasionally understands friendship better than modern matchmaking, the fight becomes the beginning of a lifelong bond. Gilgamesh has found the first person who can meet him at full strength and refuse to be impressed. Friendship makes Gilgamesh happier. It doesn't yet make him wise. The two heroes decide to seek fame by traveling to the Cedar forest, a sacred and dangerous place guarded by Humbaba. The forest isn't merely a monster arena, it's a protected world, and Humbaba isn't just a convenient villain waiting to be defeated before lunch. Gilgamesh wants a name that will outlive him. With help from the sun god Shamash, they overcome Humbaba. The guardian pleads for his life. The heroes kill him and cut down the cedars. It's a victory, certainly. It's also the first stain on the legend. This is one of the details retellings often smooth away. The heroes are brave, but bravery doesn't make every act good. The forest has a guardian, the gods have boundaries, and Gilgamesh is beginning to discover that fame is very often another word for being remembered by the people who survived your decisions. Back in Uruk, Gilgamesh attracts the attention of Ishtar, goddess of love and war. He rejects her proposal by listing the unhappy endings of her former lovers. It isn't tactful. Still, it's memorable. Ishtar responds by sending the Bull of Heaven against the city. Gilgamesh and Enkidu kill it too. Another impossible victory. Another public display of strength. And now the gods decide that one of the pair must pay. The epic doesn't make the moral bookkeeping entirely comfortable. The heroes have crossed sacred boundaries, but the punishment falls into the friendship rather than neatly matching the crime. Enkidu becomes ill. He dreams of the underworld. He curses the people and places that carried him from the wild, then revises the curse when he remembers what human companionship gave him. That revision matters. Enkidu can't return to the animals. He can't remain untouched. But the life he gained with Gilgamesh was real. Then Enkidu dies. Gilgamesh tears at his clothes. He refuses to accept the body in front of him. He mourns for days, until the physical fact of death can no longer be argued with. This is the turning point of the entire epic. Before Enkidu, Gilgamesh wants fame because he thinks a name can make him larger than other men. After Enkidu, he wants immortality because he has finally understood that he is one of them. The strongest man in the story is now afraid of dying. He leaves Uruk wearing animal skins and wanders towards the edge of the world, looking for Utnapishtim, the survivor of an ancient flood, the one human being the gods allowed to live forever. It's a sensible plan, in the same way that asking a river to return a lost friend is a sensible plan. Gilgamesh has very little else left to try. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh how the gods sent a flood and how he was warned to build a boat, preserve life, and wait out the destruction. The details are striking because they are concrete: the sealed vessel, the animals, the rain, the birds sent out to find land. The British Museum's Flood Tablet artifact preserves part of this literary witness, written centuries after the story had already traveled through older traditions. But Utnapishtim doesn't simply hand Gilgamesh the secret of eternity. He gives him a test. Stay awake. Gilgamesh fails almost immediately. Bread is placed beside him to mark each day he sleeps. By the end, the loaves are a small bakery of defeat. The point isn't that he's lazy. The point is that death isn't only the final breath. It's the limit built into the body: sleep, hunger, age, forgetfulness. Unfortunately, Gilgamesh can't command his own flesh into becoming something else. Then Utnapishtim tells him about a plant that can restore youth. At last, a practical solution. A dangerous journey, a miraculous object, a hero with a hand on the answer. Gilgamesh retrieves the plant from the deep and decides to take it back to Uruk. He won't keep the gift to himself. Perhaps this is the first evidence that the journey has changed him. Then he stops to bathe. A serpent takes the plant. It's a wonderfully quiet disaster. No army, no thunderbolt, no final duel. Just a hero who looks away for a moment and discovers that mortality has slipped out of reach again. The serpent leaves its old skin behind. Gilgamesh doesn't. Gilgamesh returns to Uruk empty-handed. At least, that is how the quest looks if immortality is the only prize that counts. But the epic doesn't end with him collapsing at the gates. It directs our attention to the city, its walls, its foundations, its ordered human world. Gilgamesh hasn't become a god. He's become someone capable of seeing what a mortal life is for. The final answer isn't hidden in the plant. It's in the return. Gilgamesh can't preserve his body. He can preserve a relationship in memory. He can build something other people inherit, and eventually, the story of his failure can be pressed into clay, copied by scribes, broken in a library, excavated, translated, disputed, and carried into another age. The tablets aren't proof that Gilgamesh escaped death. They're proof that he didn't need to. The story survived because people kept deciding that this grief was worth carrying. So, was Gilgamesh the first hero? Perhaps, but not because he was the strongest man in the room. He's one of the first heroes we can watch becoming human. The monsters give him a legend. Enkidu gives him a mirror. Death gives him a question. And Uruk gives him an answer small enough to be true. You don't live forever, but you may leave the world more legible than you found it. If you could leave one thing behind after death, a name, a city, or a story, which would you choose? Tell me in the comments. And if you would like more cases from the older, stranger corners of the archive, subscribe to the Lore Index. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye. Stay curious and stay tuned. The archive remains open.